5.3 is this one. Um, this is the new dimensions that I need to do. Oh, it's like, yeah, problem 111 is what I'm going to go and open. So I'll open up 111 first from the home tab. I'll go open my file from week one. Here's my week one file, and I have problem 111 saved right there. Looks like this. Open it up. Yeah, so I mean, I'm in the habit of always doing a file save copy as. If you just do a save as, I think it will rename this particular file. And as long as you're saving as a new file name, it shouldn't disrupt the other one. So in this case, I'll do the other save, which is just a save, not a save copy as. And this should change. I should just see the name change in my browser that's open. So if I do this, it's like 5.3 is the one we're doing. This particular problem is 5.3 in class. So as long as I'm giving it a new unique name, I shouldn't be corrupting that file, right? So save here. Now it is this one. This one has taken on my new name, which means I should still be able to go to that file if I'm going to open up, and I should not be just. So if yeah, if it annoys you to have to say it doesn't open it for you, then just do the save. Because here's my problem 111 again. And that's problem 111. So yeah. Either way, save as, we'll just rewrite over the name. The file will stay open. You'll have the file open. Save copy as just dumps it into a folder. And then I have to go and open it. Either one. I'm probably a save copy as person for whatever reason. But I like the extra assurance that it's copy. I don't know. Yeah, it happens, right? It does happen. Like as long as you're careful. But it's also a problem if you do a save copy as and that's in the folder, and then you just go to town working on the one that's on your screen and you are messing up the one, right? So yeah, it just takes a little bit of like just situational awareness. Watch your part number in your screen on your bar here. Make sure you're working on the one you want. Because it's pretty common for me, I'll have a bunch of files open. In fact, I'm kind of, you know, there are some things that I do particularly. I usually put my drawings over on my left on my bar, and then I kind of have my drawings, assemblies, and parts is kind of how, like when I'm breaking up something, I'm working, because it's pretty common, I'll have my drawing open always. If something's on a drawing, I drive everything from the drawing, and then open assemblies and open parts, and yeah. You'll notice, because you can save all your, like if something's on a drawing and you've made a modification to the part and it's updating on your drawing, if you hit save on your drawing, it will do the downstream save. As long as you have the parts open, parts and assemblies open, it'll kind of do it like from the drawing. And I don't know if you've noticed this already, but sometimes a big box shows up when you go to save your drawing. Some stuff's in red. It just means, hey, I'm going to do a save on the parts and the assemblies, everything that's on this drawing. I'm going to go ahead and do a save, anything that's been updated. And that's that nice workflow that's, that drawing is taking care of that for us, as long as the assemblies and parts are open to be saved. Um, anyway, and so we'll explore that more, but this is what I've got to change and to be this one. So for problem 5.3, I got to do this. So I'll do another little side-by-side image of what I got to change here. Oh, sorry, let's do this one over here. So it looks like to me, we got to go 3 inches tall. We've got to change. This stays an inch and a half. That stays 3 inches. So not anything changing there. These all stay a quarter inch. So really they just went up to 3 inches tall. My circle goes to 1 inch rather than 3/4. It looks like it stays centered though. If I just get a single center. Then I have the same counter bore. I think it's the same dimensions. Like, oh no, it's actually a different size counter bore. So I have some sizing changes to make on this counter bore. And then dimensionally, it's still coming in a 1/2 by 1/2, but I add another one over on the other side that I think is 1/2 by 1/2 and in line. So I just got to add 2, change my note a little bit on that. And yeah, let's do that. So I'll throw this over up on my other screen and make those changes. Oh, and the extrusion is 3 inches wide change too. So yeah, let's do this. I'll turn off all my sketches first, though. And just so you know, if you want to work ahead, you can. Next week I'll be covering chapters. I don't have the weeks opened yet, but I will kind of be covering chapters 6, 7, and 8 next week. Um, I do a couple modified things to chapter 7 than they do in the book, but anyway. And then if you work ahead, you might be bored next week. But that is what I'm going to cover next week is 6, 7, and 8, just so you know. All right. And then we kind of take a departure from the book. There might be a couple things we do, but I will take a departure from the book for a little bit. The book doesn't cover GD&T, and we'll jump into that in week 5, and welding symbols week 4. So there is some weldements covered in the book, and so I'll probably do up to chapter 8 in sequence, and I might jump over to the weldement chapter for week 4 of us, and then I will do a bunch of supplementary stuff outside of the book with weldements, and then we go into GD&T land. So we'll just kind of depart from the book, but we'll come back to it after weld symbols and GD&T. So. And I might do a few chapters out of sequence after chapter 8. Just flyover preview there for you, free of charge. So this one here, I have an annotation here, and I can kind of talk through this. So I'm gonna turn this off, but I've actually just added a note so that you had it as my screenshot. So here's my original part. This was my original initial sketch for my first extrusion. So I'll go through this sketch and open it up and edit it. There was only one dimension change. It was just this one became 3. This is a 3-inch height now. Mine I think was constrained so that they're both driven together. If it wasn't, so this constraint, it looks like I probably have like a perpendicular or a coincident constraint keeping a point to point lineup, or I could have done a horizontal constraint, like from one point on this line to one point over here. And I may have done that when it was low. So that way, when I did one dimensional change, it will change those together. So if yours didn't do that, you could add a horizontal constraint maybe so that each side is the same height. And that way one dimension changed mine. But that's just because of how I have them constrained. Yeah, that stay low. Yeah, I kind of wondered if that was going to happen. I think I had planned. I have to. What I'm having trouble with is trying to make mistakes because I probably already tried to prevent that from happening. But I think that's what I have is this. That's what I have is I think a horizontal constraint right here, and these two. To do a horizontal constraint on something like that, you probably have to pick a point of that line, whether it's a midpoint or an endpoint and an endpoint of one. That'll put those 2 points of that line. And then, of course, they would need to have been made like horizontally when you drew them. So even if you have a point to point horizontal constraint, it still may allow a line to stay like at a weird angle. So, because you can apply a horizontal constraint and then just pick a line, and that is actually a legit constraint, right? Like it's just going to keep that line horizontal, but you can also kind of use it from point to point to keep them in the same height or in the same vertical relationship. So the moral of the story is I use vertical and horizontal constraints a lot. And that's my only change here, right? I don't think I changed any. No, this did need to change to 3/4 inch high here. So this becomes quite a bit deeper, 3/4 inch deep there. And I have the same thing going on here where I probably have a horizontal constraint between these two or something. These are definitely the same height. Yeah. So when I move this one knew to move up that way too. And I've just got my origin point here, but it wouldn't matter whatever you're. So this has changed that. So my profile changes substantially. That's why I chose this one. This one has more potential to blow up, I think. So I'll finish mine really quick and then I'll come around because mine I don't think is going to blow up too bad. My next one would be I have to fix that extrusion out, so I'll snap through mine pretty quick. This needs to be 3 inches instead of 1, so there's 3. And now, so everything that moved over with me too because just the way I had it constrained, these two edges are still the same two edges. I think that's where I had those constrained too. Yeah, that was my projected geometry, and that geometry still exists. So it really puts my hole in the right spot over there actually. And this one is not the correct size. So this is my next extrusion, was my hole through both of these. So if I fix this, edit this sketch for me, this is supposed to be a 1 inch diameter now. 1 inch. And mine stayed on, mine's still constrained because it was just, I constrained coincident constraint from the center of circle to midpoint of this line that I projected. So mine always stayed on the midpoint. You may have used a dimensional constraint, and then that would be different now. I chose to constrain that to the midpoint of a projected line, so it never really it stayed on midpoint when it went from 1 to 3 inches. So this is the kind of stuff that will make you better. Working through problems allows you to make sketches better, in the future. It's a pretty long, painful process. I will tell you that. It's like it just usually initially for months and months, it's like a lot of troubleshooting. And then you'll start to get like better with your sketches and better with your constraints. So this one is now fixed. Mine, of course, is cutting through all because if I check mine out, I did to the face. See, here's an example of why I chose. Oh, I didn't know if this dimension was going to change or whatever, but I went to face on this cut. So I did a cut, and then this is to face. Like I'll get rid of everything. I said this profile I want to cut. How far do I want to cut it? Well, I'm going to drive it by two next is what I kind of think of. Two, and it says select face, this face. So that's why no matter what changes, it's going to always drive that cut to that face. So maybe that's a good place. I mean, still could do through all, and it knows that. And so what is the difference? Oh, I don't know. It's the entire profile. Bam. Okay. I think it was just an excuse for me to use that function. And then this sketch now, I need to add another hole to it. So to me, it's just a matter of I'll just add another point. If we remember right, this is using the whole feature to cut this. The sketch itself, if I go into it for mine, is this just a point. It's just a point that's been placed, which is right here, point, and then I've dimensioned the point at a half by half. So it looks like I've projected my two sides that haven't changed, so they're not pink at all. And then I would need to add another point. So I just come in here and plop down a point like that. And now I just need to constrain that point. So I think I probably used like what would be considered a horizontal constraint. It's not the right plane, so horizontal is not the way I'd want to constrain this, but I think I used kind of the vertical constraint on this plane, which looks horizontal. And then I said I want to constrain this point to this point. And that's one constraint. Now those two will always stay lined up, kind of in that horizontal, even though I'm using a vertical constraint because of the way it is. And then I'm going to use a dimension over here. It's going to be I don't have this edge projected, but I have the endpoint of this line projected, and so I can dimension to me from the endpoint without projecting any new geometry. I can just use that endpoint to this point. And so, I'm using the endpoint of that line as my dimension point. This is supposed to be 0.5, which I'm going to say, well, maybe it always stays the same as this, always comes in a half inch. So I'm going to use this dimension, D19. I'm just going to select it, say okay. So now, yeah, I used in mine a vertical constraint because it's what looks horizontal when I come down into the model browser. And then I just chose the existing one and that one. And that's what's holding this point in. I can't pull it, even though there's no dimension holding it. It's a constraint that's holding it. This vertical constraint, even though it's horizontal in this particular plane. So really, it's just one geometric constraint and then one dimensional constraint, and that point is now locked in place, and it should turn black. Yeah. And now I just say finish. And then, of course, it doesn't look like I've done anything. So I'm going to go ahead and like turn back on this sketch. I don't even think I have to turn it on. I think I can just go into the whole feature, which is what I use to cut mine, and right click and say edit feature. And then it'll allow you, see, it only had the original one position checked, but if I select my positions, I can select both of them. You may have to go in here and like choose that this is where I'm going to select, but and then there's some dimensionals that we need to change here. So the counterboard changed on this part to to a 3/8 diameter as far as this diameter. The through is 3/8, so this one becomes 0.375. And then the depth of it becomes 0.625. So I actually changed how deep my counterbore is to 5/8, 0.625. And that's the diameter. Sorry, back up. This is actually only going in a 1/4 inch here. So I'm only counterboring a 1/4 inch, 0.25. And I'm actually going, the diameter is 0.65 for the counter bore. So that is the correct counter bore now. And then I just say okay, and really that's done. Other than putting it on a drawing, I think for this one too, right? So I'm just going to open up a drawing. This drawing, sure, let's create a new one. Let's go ahead and place it. Remember, you can actually just like, if you have it up on screen, you could look at it next, and then you can go over to the drawing, right click and say base view, and it's going to pick that one. But you always have the drop down to select the right one. But sometimes this is the way I do it. I look at the last part the last part I looked at is going to be the one that auto populates. That's cool. I think I probably chose to be a little bit bigger here. I think I put the 3 views like that, but I think I maybe took them to a 2-to-1 ratio. No, probably, well, yeah, probably that big. Or I can do that here. I think this will work. I'll say okay. There's my 3 views. Oh, I know why. This is the reason why I can go to 2 to, this is incorrect. I got to change the sheet size. This will get ugly now. So I'll go to my sheet size, right click, edit sheet. That's a big old D size sheet. Let's go to a B size sheet. Now my parts will be way too big. So I'll just fix them. I'll go to the parent part here, edit view, change the scale, probably back to 1-to-1 actually, or maybe that's still too big. That'd be okay. 1-to-1. Yeah. It does kind of break that relationship between your isometric and your orthographics, but we can just change its scale to independently. I still want it. It's over here. I just need to scale it down. So I'll edit its view to 1-to-1 scale. Sure. It's not absolutely required that it is the same scale as my orthographic views, but that's good. Bam. And I just need to save it. This is 5.3, right? 5.3 in class for me. This is what you should be getting when you're saving at the drawing level. You'll get this where it's going to save. It just shows what files are going to be saved. It's going to save the part files that are associated with this drawing. So that's why. So here's one thing. Like once you save here, it's doing those updates. That way, when you jump back over to this, if you went to close it, normally when you go to close, if there's been an update, it'll prompt you to save, right? I'd already saved from the drawing, so that downstream flow is happening, and so it can close that part because it's like, oh yeah, I was saved from the drawing, so I'm saved. And then you can always reopen those. You can get to those parts. This is why once I have something on a drawing, how I get to my parts hereafter will always be to go to one of the views and right click open, and this is actually opening that part from that drawing, and that's the way I start to manage my parts and assemblies once they're on a drawing, is from the drawing. Open the drawing first, drive down to what you need to fix what you need to fix or add to it or whatever, and then go back to the drawing and save it. And it'll always be your master controller. I like it because it shows the power of the drafter. We are the keys to Prince. We are the keys to Inventor. The drawing is the master controller. The drafter controls the drawing. We are in control of this. Okay. Tell the engineers that.